So this next piece we're going to go into is instant influence. It's really quick, but we're going to start talking about, we just talked about diagnosis and get into the pain. So what we're going to talk about next is really, what are some tools we can use to be really good at that? How do we ask our questions? How do we find out those problems? How do we dig in quickly? What are some effective tools we can use? What questions do we ask? How can we ask them to just make that process a little bit easier? That's all we're going to hit next. So we're going to start with instant influence. Instant influence, we're going to use during that motivation urgency stage. We're clicking away. And I got this from Dr. Michael Pantalone, who wrote the book as Instant Influence. And he's not a sales guy. He's a doctor. He's a medical doctor. But he solved a problem, and it's really applicable to sales. So the problem he solved was this. He teaches at Yale Medical School, and a local emergency room asked him to come in because they were having an issue. Their issue was there were a lot of drunks they would treat over and over again. And they were, number one, they weren't helping them because they were being treated over and over again for the same illnesses, issues, injuries, that type of thing. And then number two, if they're treating those same people over and over with no improvement, they weren't using their resources on other people. So it was a drain on resources, and they weren't helping people, the business that they're in. So they said, they approached him and said, can you look into this and see if you can help us somehow figure out a way to influence these people with alcohol issues to stop drinking so we don't have to treat the same illnesses and injuries over and over again. Okay? Everyone understand the problem? So his solution that he ended up coming up with was really simple but ingenious. And it plays into and reinforces everything we've been talking about. See, up until this point, the ER doctors had about 7 minutes on average with these patients. So you're talking about 7 minutes, busy, noisy emergency room with half-drunk people. Not a lot of time, not a perfect scenario to try to influence anyone to do anything. Agreed? Well, the way they were trying to influence them is they tried to figure out what was getting in the way without going after motivation first. So basically the doctors, the nurses, the people who came in and talked to these people would say, Bob, why can't you stop drinking? Bob, why can't you put down the booze? Bob, why can't you stop whatever it is you're doing? And what would happen is they'd give answers. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the willpower. I don't have this, I don't have that. And they gave all the answers why they couldn't stop. So what were they really doing? They were verbalizing and selling themselves that it's impossible to stop. What Dr. Michael Pantalone did is they stopped asking why not, and they started asking a very simple question. Why? They simply reversed that question and started asking, you know, your choice, 100%. You're in control of your own life. I can't make you do anything. But if you did decide to change, why would you? And simply rephrasing that question cut the recidivism rates in half. Simply going from why not to why was enough to uncover their motivation and start them thinking, why would I? You see, when it comes to sales, our prospects are never going to ever do anything for our reasons. It has to come internally. No matter how good our reasons are, and we got some pretty dang good reasons when we're talking to prospects, right? Here's why you need to do this. This is simple as anything you'll ever see, and they don't do it. It's because it's our reasons. The only reason anyone takes action is for their reasons. So you use instant influence when you're having trouble finding out what the problem or the motivation is. You ask a few questions, and you're just not getting anywhere. This is the tool you use at that point, where you stand back and you say, you give them full autonomy, you're in control. Hey, listen, you're going to do whatever you're going to do with the house. Let me ask you this. If you ever did decide to sell, why would you? If you ever did decide to sell to an investor, why would you? Hey, if you ever did invite me out to the property to take a look at it and give you an offer, why would you? And that's where you get a sneak peek into motivation on some prospects who are really tough and won't give it even an inch. Okay. So reversing your questions, stop asking why not and start asking why would you. Okay. This is how you uncover deeply hidden motivation. Prospect won't take an appointment with you? I get it. No problem. Is it okay if I ask you a question? if you did all of a sudden wake up and you were like, you know what, I am going to have that John guy out here for 15 minutes to shoot me an offer. If you did decide that, why in the world would you? I don't know if you can do this and this. I wasn't expecting you to say that. Why'd you bring that up? Oh, that's something I've been dealing with for a while. Really? How long now? You're right into your diagnosing questions. See how that works? That's how you find that little bit of motivation. How many of you asked your prospect, why am I here? And you're trying to find the problem or the motivation. They're like, no reason really. Just you sent me the letter. You sent me a postcard. You tell me. Well, let me ask you this. Say you do decide to sell your house. To me, retail, to someone else, whoever else. Why would you? Well, I would if I could get a cheaper place. Why is that important? Well, the bills are just getting a little bit high. How long have you been feeling that way? Bang, you're right into that diagnosis. See how that works? Instant influence. You find the one reason why they would take action, you uncover it easily, and then you start digging in. That's what you use when you've got deeply hidden. We all know they have motivation. No one picks up a postcard and calls you and has you come out to their house just for funsies, right? As my brother-in-law says, for funsies. My daughter just made so much fun of me for that this weekend. I wrote that one time on a text message. She says she shows it to all of her friends now for funsies. I thought it was cool. No one does. There's some deeply hidden motivation. So this is a very simple tool you use, again, when you're having trouble getting anywhere. You know you got to get to problem, impact, picture perfect, and they're not doing anything. Complete autonomy. Hey, up to you. Obviously, we're probably not going to move forward on this, but let me ask you kind of a crazy question. Maybe, tomorrow, maybe 10 years from now, if you do decide to sell, why would you? Well, if I didn't have to take care of this or if this happened. Really, why'd you bring that up? You just uncovered pain. Now you can drill down to see what's underneath, if there is something. Okay? With me so far? It's that simple. Why might you? Why could you? Why would you consider? Why might you even think about? Why might you decide to? And then you just put in whatever you want them to do. And they will tell you right there, well, I will do what you're asking of me if blank. That's like reading someone's mind. No, I don't want to. Totally get it. Let me ask you this. If you did ever decide you wanted to, why would you? What would have to happen at that point for you to go, hey, you know what, I'll consider this now? Well, if bang. Why'd you bring that up? Sounds kind of important. I wasn't expecting you to say that. How long have you been thinking about that kind of stuff? You were right back into that diagnosis and they don't know what hit them. But now they're sharing their motivation and now you've got something to work with. Couple more. Imagine that you already made the change we're talking about. Now tell me how you'd benefit from that. What is this? A picture-perfect question. Do you guys think it's a coincidence that everything we learned in sales through spin and Huthwaite and everything in psychology and behavioral economics and everything that this doctor who is not in sales found out about what motivates people to take decisions? And by the way, this is now required teaching in trauma units across the country. And I think half the medical schools in the United States have adopted this line of questioning for their patients. Do you think he'd come to this conclusion if there wasn't truth behind it? It just so happens to also substantiate everything we've been talking about. He uses picture-perfect questions. He doesn't call them picture-perfect questions, but that's what he's using, right? Hey, tell me about this. Why would you? Why questions to avoid? Any of your why don't you, why can't you, why wouldn't you? All that does is you start bringing up all the reasons why you're doing the opposite of motivating them to take action. You're helping them build the case to why they can't take action. Hey, why wouldn't you take a deal for me? What's getting in the way? I mean, we use those questions pretty often, don't we? Like, hey, I don't understand. What's going on? What's getting in the way? Well, you can't do this. Well, I can't do this. Well, I can't do this. You're kind of moving in the opposite direction, aren't you? You're building the case against yourself right there. Does that make sense? How many of you guys have used that? Maybe even out of frustration or you just didn't know any better and you go, I don't get it, man. What's getting in the way? Why can't you do this? Why can't you pull the trigger on this? And then what do? They give you a list of all the reasons why they can't. And then what do you do with that list?
Get logical.
Yeah, that makes sense. You win. It's like, I get that stuff. But why would you? Even with all the, I know why you can't. I know why it's hard. Let me ask you this crazy question. If even with all that you decided to do a deal with me, why the heck would you? Well, if it made my wife happy. That's the last thing I expected to hear from you, man. Why? What made you decide to bring that up? That's the first time I've ever heard that when I asked that question. Well, it's been a little bang, you're right in there. You're back in the mix. You're back into uncovering motivation and drilling down. We're almost through this. This is just a really quick tool we go over. And then here's the 1 through 10 variation of the why question. I'll go back a slide and just give it to you. Who uses some type of 1 through 10 question? On a scale of 1 to 10, blank. Okay. I do too, not like most people do. This comes from this book. Most people use a 1 through 10 the wrong way. They'll say, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how close are we? How good are you feeling about this? A 7 or an 8. And then you say, what do I have to do to get you to a 10? Or what's missing there? How do I get you there? The right way to use the 1 through 10 is this way. And let me ask you, let me just take temperature here. Let me ask you a question. You guys shout out a number. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, we're never doing a deal, ever, I want you to leave my house. I don't like the way you look. And 10 being, let's do a deal, I'm ready to get rid of this house. How ready are you to sell this place? 4.5. 4.5, really? I thought you were closer to a 2. Why so high? It uncovers any potential motivation. Well, I do need to sell the place. You know I have to do something. And you start to uncover the real motivation that lies beneath. Not what do I have to do, but whatever number they say. I was expecting you to say a 1. Why'd you pick a number so high? I did not think you'd say 2. Well, blank, insert motivation here. And then impact questions. Why'd you bring that up? Sounds kind of important. How long have you been thinking about that, dealing with that? Wow. That doesn't impact how you spend your time, though. Shoot, really? You're right there. You're right there. You're right there every single time. I think we had a question in the back, Saul.
Yeah, it's very important to ask why so high, because I coached one of my guys, same technique, a couple of days ago. And he asked that question, and he forgot to ask why so high. And the guy started telling why so low, so he had to untangle that.
It goes the reverse way.
Yeah,
why so low?
So,
because
then it's very important. It was my mistake because I didn't tell him. I thought he was going to just naturally go with this way.
Yeah. It's also a great pattern interrupt because your prospects they expect you not to say that, right? I don't care if it's a 2, it's just, whoa. I'm surprised. I thought we were at a 1. What made you say a number so frickin' high? Oh, I'm going to have to do something. Why do you got to do something? Sounds like you're sitting pretty.
They hit you with the 1.
Well, hit you with the 1? Yeah. No. They hit you with the 1. Just have some fun with it. Really, a 1? That kind of surprises me. I thought you were like at a 0. I thought you were about to punch me in the face and kick me out of here. Why in the world would you pick a number so frickin' high? Right? You might find out there's no deal there and you move on, right? But that's how you use instant influence, right? Why variation? So all you do to use that, any action you want them to take, why would you? Clicker. I'd like you to click forward. Why? So let's do a quick exercise. What's one action that you guys sometimes have trouble getting your prospect to take? Signing a contract, picking up the phone, setting an appointment, picking up the phone. So what's one question you could ask to find out what their motivation would be to do that? So let's, setting up an appointment. It's as simple as this. You just insert the action. Give them autonomy and insert the action. So, hey, you're in control of whether I come out there or not. Let me ask you this, though. If you ever did decide to invite me out to give you an offer on the property, why in the heck would you? Well, if you could do it in 20 minutes and not talk my ear off, then I'd consider it. You uncovered some stuff, right? Well, that surprises me. Usually people ask me to stay a little bit longer. Why'd you bring that up? I had 2 other investors out here, and they stayed 2 hours and didn't leave. Totally understand, right? You can do something with that, okay? Sign the contract. You can uncover some deal killers or some more hidden motivation there, right? Hey, I can't force you to sign anything, and honestly, if you don't want to sell me your house, I don't want to buy it. But is it okay if I ask you a question? If you did decide, I want to sign this thing, I'm ready to do this deal, why in the world would you? Well, if that's what you're looking for. That's the missing piece of information you're looking for to close that deal.